Natalia, your empowerment coach, here to remind you that it is possible to create your reality by arming you with the knowledge and tools that will help you do so. Now, up until now, we've covered how the subconscious mind runs the show and how the brain consists of neural pathways that fire together and wire together. We also learned that your brain is capable of a beautiful thing called neuroplasticity, which means that it can change and reorganize itself. We've also briefly talked about how your brain is skewed towards the negative, also known as the negativity bias, and how automatic negative thoughts tend to be a habitual thing that we subconsciously don't even realize is going on beneath the surface. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about how we can begin to rewire our brain through a process called cognitive restructuring. So cognitive restructuring is a cognitive behavioral therapy approach that allows us to examine, challenge, and begin to reframe these automatic negative thoughts. The goal? To replace distorted, irrational beliefs with a more balanced, evidence-based alternative. Again, we're not about that toxic positivity. We're only trying to reframe in a realistic way. So let's break down this process of cognitive restructuring step by step. The first step is to identify the negative thoughts. Becoming aware of these thoughts is really important because awareness is the first step to change. And this applies to everything. Next, we need to question the validity of the thought. So is there concrete evidence that support this thought, or is it a distortion or an automatic negative thought? Oftentimes, our negative thoughts tend to rely on overgeneralization, catastrophizing, jumping to conclusions. In cognitive behavioral therapy, there are many different types of cognitive distortions. So understanding whether this is evidence-based or a distortion is the second step. Now comes the exciting part, crafting an alternative thought so we can begin to re-script the whole premise of our thinking. This is where you challenge the initial negativity with a more balanced perspective. For example, I failed at this task becomes I faced a setback, but I've learned a valuable lesson. And as you repeat this process, you're not just changing your thoughts, you're rewiring your brain's pathways. It's like upgrading the software of your brain. And the more you do this, the more the neural connections between those thoughts strengthens, and the more new neural pathways begin to form. So cognitive restructuring isn't just about dismissing a negative thought or sweeping it under the rug. Again, it's about viewing a situation more realistically and responding in a healthier way. Because remember, you don't have to believe everything you think. Your brain is prone to doing that, but if you can become aware and start challenging those thoughts and replacing them with a more realistic one, then you can change your brain. As we talked about the science behind neuroplasticity, your brain is malleable. It is capable of forming new connections. So by consistently challenging those negative thoughts, you are creating stronger, more positive pathways. Now, practicing cognitive restructuring might feel challenging at first, but with time, it does become more of a natural thing. The idea is to make it habitual. So every time I catch myself thinking something negative, I just replace it with something positive. And the results are so worth it. Increased emotional resilience, reduced anxiety, and a more empowering perspective on life. So let's recap. Step number 1, identify the automatic negative thought at play. All right, see it in action, catch it in action, become more aware of it, and identify it. Step number 2, question it. Take that thought to court. really challenge its validity. Is there another way to look at this? Is there concrete evidence to support it? What about evidence to support the contrary? So question that thought. And step number 3, reframe. So craft a balanced, more evidenced alternative thought. What is another way I can look at this? How can I look at this more positively and more realistically? Now, remember, this process takes practice, so be patient with yourself. The more you do this, the more effective it becomes. So the next time an ant comes marching in, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this thought really true? Is there evidence to support it? It's like giving your brain a reality check. And then you can begin to reframe that thought like a superhero swooping in to save the day. That I'm not good enough becomes I'm constantly growing and learning. So redirecting those pathways and watch your brain's cityscape transform. Now, if you want to learn more about what cognitive distortions are and learn more tools, check out my website, www.daliahalabi.com, and look into my Managing Anxiety workshop. This course consists of all the information you need to understand the cognitive behavioral therapeutic approach to anxiety, how your thoughts create emotions, what are the different cognitive distortions, and more tools to help you to recraft those thoughts. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for the next video. I'm going to share with you one of my go-to tools that I share with all my clients on how to really begin to take over the reins and change your brain's landscape. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.